Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, and I'm here to talk to you about a Leeds United based sponsor on the channel, teamwallart.com. The link is in the description. Worldwide shipping, and it's unbelievable, guys. As I've told you before, this is the sort of stuff that you can get from these guys. My favourites on the end here, accused of everything, guilty of nothing since 1919. You can get this one for $5.99 if you buy another one for $7.99, and I did that. I've got the one of Marcelo Bielsa here, a beautiful image, really good quality as well, by the way, and of course the title winning boys. Some really good stuff on there, guys. As I said, the link is in the description. I went to these guys. I love this sort of stuff, and they are Leeds United fans. Go check it out. Enjoy the video. One Leeds is now sponsored by OneFootball. OneFootball is a really classy app. You can get all of your Leeds United updates on this app. You can get all the transfer news, injury news, match day news, and it really is top quality. The most downloaded app regarding football on the site. So make sure you go check it out. The link is in the description, and I hope you enjoy the video, guys. Hello everybody, welcome back. Hope you're all doing, I was going to say, I hope you're all doing fantastically well, but I hope you're, sort of reflective. I hope you're not too downbeat about yesterday, but it is what it is, isn't it? Leeds United lose out 1-0 to Brighton at home, and yeah, just flat, lethargic, lackluster. Nothing really there. I didn't really see a change from Crawley, to be quite honest with you. Crawley just punished us more. Get your comments in the section below anyway. I'd love to hear what you're saying before we get into the fat, before we start chewing the fat. What's going on, Connor? Bielsa should go. Goodness me, I'm not sure about that. Kiko wasn't the problem yesterday. Midfield non-existent. I completely agree with that. Click's been poor all season. I would say his chance creation is in the top 5 of the division, but there's other aspects of Matthias Click's game at this moment in time that are not clicking. The pitch is non-league standard. You can't play football on it. Embarrassing. I mean, that pitch has got to be the worst in the top. I mean, I watched Barnsley yesterday. Barnsley were playing at home to Swansea, and our pitch was worse, and that was like a bog. It was like a swamp. I was expecting to see Shrek just there bathing around in that thing. It's absolutely horrendous at Ellen Road. I don't know what they're doing with it, because it's Leeds against Leeds, because we play quick, fast, emphatic football. We're hindering ourselves with the pitch. I look forward to Leeds United playing away from home now because of that pitch. It's absolutely horrific. Where is the rumour mill, Connor? Ethan, I can't get out the rumour mill, mate, when we've got no rumours. It's difficult. I'm not just going to BS you, unfortunately. Can't believe the panic on here. I'd have taken this 18 games in and 12 points clear of relegation. Scott, completely agree with what you're saying, mate. I do think there's a little bit of a worry with aspects of Leeds' performances. You forget that we're halfway through the season. We're not even halfway through the season yet. Obviously, we haven't played Southampton, and that's the halfway point. We've got the next half, obviously, to go. I do think there has to be significant improvements at this moment in time. So far, it's been great, but, looking ahead, I think there needs to be a fair few improvements. The second half of the season is absolutely massive. So I think that's going to be the pivotal part, to be quite honest with you. Adam Chadwick, seen people blaming the state of the pitch. However, the pitch can't be blamed. Brighton knocked it around well on there. I put that out on Twitter. I said, a lot of people it's as if people always try to find excuses for Leeds. If this has happened, it's because of this. If this has happened, it's because of that. We just simply weren't good enough yesterday. We didn't turn up. There was no energy. There was no endeavour. There was no leaders on the pitch. Why was nobody talking? I watched the game afterwards, the Chelsea game, and you could just hear an abundance of noise on that pitch. What was coming from the Leeds team? There was just nothing. I could hear Lewis Dunk at the Brighton side of things, but I couldn't hear anything from any Leeds player. No leadership last night, and yesterday. Sorry, I just thought it was a bit dead, to be quite honest with you. But listen, we're going to get through a little bit of the game as well, guys. Join me on this journey as we take apart this game yesterday. But I thought yesterday, I think we've got to have a special shout out to our main man, Ben White. And I've got a lot of affection for Ben White, for what he did for this club and for getting us back to where we belong. I thoroughly expect without Ben White, last season, we wouldn't be in this position right now. So, you know, you've got to take your hat off to him. I thought he was absolutely tremendous for Leeds last season, and I thought he was arguably the best player on the pitch yesterday. We knew he was going to be. Ran the midfield, absolutely ran it in that first half. Was just dodging past Click, was dodging past Rodrigo. I wasn't sure if anyone was man marking him. I know we play the system. He was getting way too much space. He was beating his man. He was driving through that middle. And we said that in the pre-match, didn't we? I didn't know whether or not he was even going to be playing Ben White. Maybe he was going to be playing the right wing, left wing. He's been playing everywhere under Graham Potter. Centre back, we had no idea. But Ben White ran that first half, and you can have your Leeds United blinkered glasses on all you want. That is the case. He ran that first half, along with Trossard and McAllister in front of him. Leeds' midfield was non-existent, absolutely non-existent. We massively missed Calvin Phillips yesterday. Of course we did, but I think the worrying factor of it for me is we can't always rely on Calvin Phillips. Calvin Phillips is absolutely essential to how Leeds United play. You know, he's it's like someone like Virgil van Dijk with Liverpool. They need that player in there. And Calvin is that for us, for our system to work, for our switch to work, for our quick passing, for the tempo to work. It's all dictated by that one man, Calvin Phillips. But there is such a reliance on him. There could be another bout where he's out with injuries this year. And this is the point when we talk about transfers, when we talk about a 6 or an 8 coming in, it's how threadbare Leeds United are if a Calvin Phillips goes out, because you've seen when he's out of this side, the whole dimension changes. And this is what makes me, I'm incredulous with some Leeds fans online who say it's fine, because with a fully fit squad, it's fine, but it's square pegs in round holes every single time. When Calvin's out, and we've got let's say a fully fit squad, what happens? Does Robin Koch have to go in defensive midfield, even though he's a centre-back? Does Llorente have to go in defensive midfield, even though he's a centre-back? Does Struijk have to go in defensive midfield because he's a centre-back? Does Click have to go from an 8 into a 6? It shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be the case. Leeds United should have players certified for that position. Versatility only gets you so far. It was brilliant in the Championship. It's been brilliant so far, but teams in the Premier League are ruthless, absolutely ruthless. And, these experiments, we don't know what's going to go on in the second half of the season. I actually think, weirdly enough, with some of our main players, you look at Bamford, you look at Phillips, you look at Ayling, we've actually been quite lucky with injuries, weirdly enough. And I know we've had Koch and Llorente out for, they barely even made appearances really on the whole. But, you look at the squad, and we've actually had players like Rafinha available quite regularly. Rodrigo, I know he had that COVID bout, but he's been available readily. What happens in the second half of the season if Calvin picks up an injury, if Bamford picks up an injury, then what happens? And this is where I think there has to be investment in the squad. I'm not talking 8 or 9 different players, but for me in the summer, there needs to be an experienced goalkeeper. There needs to be a left back. There needs to be a central midfielder, and there needs to be a striker. But what can we do right now to counteract that? We can get a central midfielder. We can get a 6. We can get an 8. You get an Andrea Radrizzani last night liking tweets about people saying to him, we should go out and get Rodrigo de Paul. What's all that about? And obviously the fans are going to jump on that. Phillips controls games most times he plays. I completely agree with that. We miss a leader. This is such a good point. I completely agree with you, Holy Ghost. I think the leadership in this side, we've got players who've been there, and we might have players in the changing room who talk and stuff like that. But on the pitch, you've heard it without any crowds as well. There's nothing. There's not really any vocalization ever. It's quiet. And for me, a leader's barking at every single person. And, I don't know. I just think it's... because they're playing the wrong side. Ben White was superb. Koch's a very good player, but White is different gravy. I completely agree with this. Robin's going to get to that next level, but Ben White's class, absolutely class, and we all know that. And just yesterday, you just got so envious and green at how we just ran the game, ran it. And listen, if Phillips was in there, it might have been a little bit different, but Ben White was in a sort of defensive role, so he'd have been up against Rodrigo and Click as it was anyway. But he was getting to the edge of our box, striking, getting efforts in, playing it out wide. But yeah, I mean, we'll get into the game of it, guys. But look at, I think pre-match was a big thing, because we're talking on here, and a lot of people are saying, Connie, you've been negative. Connie, you're doing this. Connie, you're saying that. You've been too respectful to the opposition. But The thing is, they can have Danny Welbeck out, they can have Aaron Connolly out, they can have all the players under the sun out, Tariq Lamptey, but they've still got players who can come in. They've still got players who, with 5 years in the Premier League, they've been able to build, they've been able to sustain, and it is frustrating. There's hope, and I've got hope. I said we'd win 2-1. I really thought it'd be a 2-2. I thought it was going to be a really difficult game, but there's also veering into, and I hate to say this, but slight delusion, going into a game against Brighton. Yeah, they've not won, but they've still got a very good team. Neil Maupay turns up against us every single time. Players like McAllister ran the second half against Man City. They've been on the other side of certain results where they didn't deserve it. You hark back to the Chelsea and the Man United game. So that was going to turn at some point. And against a Leeds United team where there's 5 players playing out of position, and there's no real depth coming on, apart from a couple of 21-year-olds who haven't really provided anything for us this season, and a 35-year-old Pablo Hernandez, you sort of expecting Brighton to at least score a couple of goals against Leeds or get something from the game. But before the game, I'm seeing 3, 4, 5, I actually saw a 6-0 Leeds, realistically. And it's sometimes I'm just a little bit like, are we watching the opposition team here? Any game in the Premier League is going to be a really, really tough game for Leeds United. We all have to be 10 out of 10 because of the squad that we've got. I thought the midfield, this midfield pairing of Click and Rodrigo, it's not working. Rodrigo came out earlier on, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and literally came out and said he prefers to play in and behind the striker. We saw against Aston Villa, he was brilliant when he did that. We sort of reverted to a 4-4-2 formation. Rodrigo was playing just off Bamford, but Villa were coming at us consistently. So there were spaces behind. It was a different sort of game. Brighton weren't doing that. They'd have an attack and then they'd regroup and they'd have 7 or 8 behind the ball instantaneously. And that's not to say, by the way, that Brighton weren't dominating the game, because in the first half, their pass percentage was through the roof. They were keeping the ball. We were losing the ball consistently, misplaced passes all the time, and we didn't create anything. And Brighton were coming forward, one after the other. I thought Kiko was okay. He had two crosses, which he claimed really well. He made a good save in the second half, which was bizarre. So he was all right. I don't think he was massively troubled, though. There was a lot of blocks from the Leeds defence, a couple of Brighton attacks that didn't really come to anything. But as I say, earlier on, that midfield against Aston Villa and teams like that is great because they leave space. But against teams like Brighton, when they just regroup very quickly, the midfield doesn't work. Rodrigo is consistently out of position. He's consistently out of position, and there's no coincidence that Click is being exposed more and more and more when he's been partnered with Rodrigo. Rodrigo is a centre forward. And this is what I'm talking about square pegs in round holes. It works sometimes, but in the Premier League, you've got to diligently follow your man in this Bielsa system, and every player has to be 10 out of 10. And we're not seeing enough of that. The midfield is consistently exposed. If you watch the preview, I was talking about the centre-backs being able to come into the midfield and just expose Leeds. We saw that with Webster. We saw that with Dunk. And obviously we saw that with Ben White, but he was playing in that midfield role. We saw the centre-backs stepping up consistently because there's just gaps there all the time. You get past this man marking system, Leeds, we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. That midfield, there's always space there. I thought Yves Bissouma was going to be the man who exposed that. Turned out it was Ben White consistently getting through that midfield. And it's because Rodrigo's too high, Click's too high, and it leaves Pascal by himself. It leaves Pascal by himself. The turf, a lot of people talking about the turf. Click and Rodrigo were non-existent yesterday. If we finish between 12th and 15th, I'd be happy. We still have championship player and we need a couple of years to strengthen. I completely agree. And, 2 years ago when we lost 1-0 to QPR, we had the exact same team as yesterday, bar two players. Do any other Premier League side have that? It doesn't happen. But we didn't help ourselves yesterday. I've got down on here as well on my notes about the pitch. The pitch is just absolutely horrific. It's a rugby pitch. It's awful. As I say, it's Shrek Swamp, and it's killing how we play. It is killing how we play. Maybe we need that little bit more of an advantage because we don't have that quality of player that maybe a Brighton do because they've been in the Premier League for so long. And we need that assistance of a smooth pitch. We naturally do, but we're not getting that at this moment in time. I don't know what's gone on, but it's literally inhibiting our play. We play at home, and we've always got the pressure on us anyway because, we're the home side, and we need to pick up, points are always more valuable at home because it's seen as a fortress. I know the crowd isn't there, but still, teams still have to travel to Ellen Road. We've got the advantage because it's on our doorstep, and we've got a massive disadvantage because of how the pitch is laid. It's horrific. It's absolutely awful. It looked like the pitch had acne yesterday. It's that bad. It's got that many spots on it, that many potholes, whatever it is. It's awful, and it's killing how we play. We wondered why we were slipping all over the place against Wolves. We wondered why we were slipping all over the place against West Ham and Leicester, and it's because of the pitch. I think Jack Grealish even put a post out on his Instagram, and he went, this pitch or something like that, in reference to Ellen Road. It is awful. It really is awful. So as I was talking about earlier, McAllister, Trossard and White, I thought were brilliant for Brighton. McAllister in particular, who ran it in the second half against Manchester City. He was getting on the ball, dictating how we're playing. Dallas was man-marking McAllister. And McAllister was having a field day. He was just left, right, balance. He was putting Dallas on his bottom every minute. And this is it. It's even when they've got all these players out, Brighton, they've still got players like him who can come in, Trossard who can come in and just run the game. And this is what I keep saying about teams being in the Premier League for a sustained period of time and being able to build. And as people are saying in the comment section below, if we finish 17th, I'll be over the moon. But it is, I do think this is my personal opinion, football subjective. I do think it's a little bit naive to be turning around already and saying we're safe, we're done, it's all right, we're fine. I think that is a little bit naive because we don't know what's coming the second half of the season. As I say, I've just put a hypothetical scenario there of Calvin Phillips being out of the squad for a period of time. We've seen at Leeds United for Calvin Phillips over the years, there is a sustained period where he is out of the squad. We've not had that yet. And that normally comes. There's a similar thing. There's a similar theme with Bamford. Normally, it's Cooper, Bamford, and Phillips who have a sustained period out of the squad. Then what? I know it's a hypothetical scenario, but the trend fits. It's happened season among season. So if that does happen, there needs to be a contingency plan. And this is what I'm trying to talk about. It's not all just said and done because of the first half of the season. Because I think we've had a lot of very, very good players. Yeah, we've not had Koch. Yeah, we've not had Llorente, really. We've had to manoeuvre the squad a little bit. But a lot of our core players, a lot of our quality players, I'm talking Rafinha, Rodrigo, Bamford, Phillips, Click, have all been available. We still talk about, obviously, coronavirus is going on at this moment in time. It's still a huge threat within football clubs. We look at Meslier yesterday, another key cog who was out of the side. So I just think it's a little bit naive to turn around already and say we're safe, we're done, blah, 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 because I don't think that's given enough respect to this division. I don't think it's given enough respect to this division. I think this division is disgusting and ruthless. I do think we'll be okay, but, I still think there needs to be bodies in this window. I still think there needs to be bodies in because they are the contingency plans to COVID, to injuries, to a threadbare squad. I'm just talking one or two. That's what I personally think. And as I said on here as well, versatility has its limits. Square pegs, round holes. And this is what I'm talking about with investment. Alioski, left back. He's not a left back. He's never a left back. We've needed a left back for years now. I think we've needed a proper left back since Charlie Taylor left. I thought Leif Davis was going to fit that mould at some point, maybe even in the Premier League. People are talking about Leif Davis as if he's unbelievable, one of the finest players they've seen in the youth academy for years and years and years. We're still not seeing him really be embedded into that left back role. It seems to be favoured for Alioski. I would love to see Leif Davis there, but if that is not going to be a part of Leeds' plans, let's go out and get a left back because we can't continuously, with the wingers that are in this division, put Alioski at left back. He'll have a good game, but then he'll have a couple of bad games, and we know defensively he's not great. So he's out of position. Yesterday we had Luke Ayling at centre back, a right back at centre back. We've then got Struijk in central defensive midfield. Bless him, I felt sorry for him, but he is not that player. Pascal Struijk is not that central defensive midfielder. I was secretly hoping that we'd have Click in the CDM role and then Shackleton just in front of him. We've tried it before. It's worked. It's not worked. But Pascal Struijk, is not a central defensive midfielder. I think he's going to be an elite centre-back. I think he's got excellent attributes. He's a very, very good player. I love Pascal Struijk, but he is not a central defensive midfielder. Square pegs, round holes. He shouldn't have to play in that role. And this is what I'm trying to discuss. And as this individual says, a centre midfielder should be our priority. RDP would be good. We need a press-resistant midfielder to stop our midfield just being strolled through. And a press-resistant midfielder is probably the key. Press resistant is perfect to look at. Mickey Cuisance is press resistant. Rodrigo de Paul is press resistant. We look at players in this division. I always talk about Anguissa, press resistant. We do not have a press resistant midfielder, and that needs to be addressed. It has to be addressed because that's how you deal with pressure. That's how you recycle possession. But I thought Struijk, he doesn't like switching the ball. If you ever watch Struijk in central defensive midfield, he doesn't like switching the ball. He gets the ball and he likes passing it side to side. He looks a little bit nervous. He doesn't want the ball all the time. He's not screaming for the ball like we see with Calvin. And the switch is always on when Struijk's on the ball, but he doesn't like doing it. I don't think he's confident in getting the ball out of his feet and switching it 20, 30 yards. And that's what we get with Calvin Phillips. We look at the value of the squad as well. I've mentioned this before. Morpay and Webster are worth more than our entire squad. In terms of what was Webster, about 35 million. Morpay was about 25 million. You take Rodrigo out of that. You take Rafinha out of the squad, and they're worth more than 9 of our players. So that's when you look at squad value. It's on a different level, and the depth as well. And this is what I was talking about earlier on. So they've still got injuries. They're battered with injuries, Brighton, but they can still bring on Alzate, who's a rotation player in the Premier League. They've had for a couple of years now. I think he's come through their youth development or something like that. They got him from Leyton Orient. Basuma, who's wanted by about 15 clubs around Europe. Davy Proper, Zakiri, who they bought in the summer, and then you've got Percy Tau, who's just been awarded a work permit. And they reckon he's going to be the next big thing. So this is Brighton battered with injuries. They can still bring on 5 players like that. 5 players like that. And they're mauled with injuries at the minute. So, we're not expected to go out there and stuff Brighton 4 or 5-0. It's not looking at it realistically. It's not. Anything of a 1-0, a 2-1, a scrappy win would have been perfect. But yeah. I've got down here, we need to get an 8 or a 6. I still think Pulgar is the man. I'd love to go and get Pulgar. We spoke about him on the rumour mill. The Fiorentina midfielder who's not getting any game time. 13.5 million is his market value. Do I think we'll get it done? No, I don't. I don't think we're going to do any business, but that's who I would get. I think he'd be perfect. Patrick Bamford at the minute. And this is where we need to look at the second half of the season as well. Patrick Bamford's had a lot of joy. A lot of people did not expect Patrick Bamford to be doing what he's done in this half of the year. I think teams are going to start to adapt to Patrick Bamford. And I think how you adapt to Patrick Bamford is by playing 2 banks of 4 and restricting the space in and around him. Because a lot of the time we've seen against Burnley, West Brom, Wolves, even West Ham, Crystal Palace, he's been isolated, and he's isolated because we're in a 4-1-4-1 system. I think you're going to get a lot of teams trying to restrict the space around Patrick Bamford, and that's where he's going to be suffocated, and that's where you're not going to see the best out of Patrick Bamford. And I think you can see that more recently. There's a lot of teams sort of adapting and putting 2 banks of 4 in and around Patrick Bamford, which is where he's struggling to get space. It's 10 goals in 17 games now, which is still very good. But, we were talking, 2 or 3 weeks ago, 10 goals in 14, 10 goals in 15, 10 goals in 16, 10 goals in 17. I don't think Patrick Bamford was at fault yesterday. I thought he was isolated. I didn't massively enjoy when he's throwing his hands up, when he's not getting the ball and all this sort of stuff. I know that's frustration, but as Stephen says here, Bamford does need help, and he does need help. And I think Rodrigo's trying to provide that as a second striker, but then we lose the midfield impetus. We lose the midfield drive. What I didn't like from Bielsa yesterday was how he completely killed Rafinha. Absolutely killed Rafinha. The best player we have on the pitch by a country mile in terms of technical ability, our main threat. He completely killed him. I don't know why he's put him on the left, whether or not it was because he wanted Harrison to man-mark Solly March. I don't know. But having favouritism for Harrison's attacking output over Rafinha is madness, because Rafinha is 4 times the player Jack Harrison is. So I think Rafinha is unbelievable at cutting inside. We saw that against West Brom with that 5th goal. Unbelievable at cutting inside. He's been our best player for me for the best part of, a month, 2 months, in my personal opinion. Getting the ball terrifies opponents. And there was just a favouritism of getting the ball out to Harrison and trying to get Harrison's attacking output higher. I didn't understand it. Why, when we've had such joy with Rafinha on one side, do we now switch it around to Jack Harrison being on that? And you negate everything that Rafinha's good at, cutting inside, hitting it on his left foot, left or right. He didn't get enough of the ball, and he didn't look confident in that position. Why has he changed him? Why has he changed him and put him on the opposite side? Makes zero sense unless he's looking at some sort of defensive modification. Don't know, but bizarre, absolutely bizarre. And then sort of we took Rafinha off as well. Marcelo Bielsa took Rafinha off when Pablo had just come on. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but when Pablo and Rafinha are on the pitch, there's always going to be danger of a goal, you know? And that combination is probably the most dangerous combination in this side. Pablo Hernandez and Rafinha. You know, the creative spark, the guile, the innovativeness, the creativeness of Pablo Hernandez, and then the finishing, the aggression, the athleticism, the prowess of Rafinha. I mean, what a combination that is. He takes Rafinha off. Keeps Harrison on, as always happens. Always happens. Harrison's the favoured son, but takes Rafinha off. Bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. Bielsa achieved promotion with Leeds. Forgot that, bud. Strange comment in itself. Really bizarre comment. We're reviewing the game. We should just stop the channel and just never review a game because Bielsa's got us promotion. If that is to me, I don't know if that's a response to the comments. I love Bielsa. I love what he's doing. But, you know, everyone comes on this channel for a subjective point of view. I give my point of view. Some people like it. Some people don't like it. That's the objective of having a channel. Some people don't like it. Some people do. It's got absolutely zero impact on Marcelo Bielsa. Marcelo Bielsa will do what he does. That's why I'm sat in my room and he's managing Leeds United and he's one of the renowned coaches in world football. But this is my opinion. And, you know, you don't have to come on this channel and watch it. This is my opinion. If you don't like it, leave. Simple. But I didn't understand why he put Rafa on the left. I think Rafa is so much better on the right. And obviously, guys, you know, we talk about Dale's cleared it up there. I was talking to this guy on the chat. I appreciate that, mate. But I guess that was a bit of a disclaimer for everyone as well. You know, this is my point of view. I would never question Marcelo Bielsa, but I think he made some dodgy decisions yesterday. No goals, 3 games in a row. 3 games in a row. Yeah, I mean, there's something a little bit, and I don't know whether or not it's because the 2 banks are 4 at the minute. I don't think, you know, we're coming up against teams who are very up on getting that defensive structure straight away. You know, we've seen even like Newcastle love getting that defensive structure sorted straight away. Burnley, Brighton. So I don't know whether or not it's because the space is restricted in between the lines and our patterns of play has been disrupted. But Leeds are making basic errors. There's basic errors in Leeds' press. There's basic errors in Leeds' man marking at this moment in time. And there's basic errors in 5-yard passes, which you guys love hearing me say. 5-yard passes are not being made. Cooper bundled about 4 balls in the first half out into touch. Alioski did the same. And we're not building our style of play that we normally do. There's some games where Leeds' passing is on and it's on point. There's some games where it's horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And we can blame the pitch. But as a lot of people have said in the chat, Brighton have the same pitch. But Brighton have a higher quality of player. You can dislike that. You can like that. But that's the truth. Brighton have better players than Leeds United because, as I keep saying, have sustained Premier League status and more investment in the squad. You know, Marcelo Bielsa has improved these average championship players, a lot of average championship players, to top championship players and now to Premier League players. But when you're moving these sorts of players all in and around the squad when they're not playing in their favoured position, that's going to cause a lot of problems. That's going to cause a lot of mistakes. And that's going to cause Leeds United to lose a lot of games. It will do. And that, you know, we're going to lose double the amount of games this year. Hopefully we're going to win double the amount of games as well. That's the hope. And that can happen. But this square, this sort of versatility, it has its limits. It has its limits, and the perfect example of that yesterday, was Pascal Stroy. It has its limits, and that's why, for me, as I keep saying, we've got to go out and get someone in this window. That's my personal opinion. As well, guys, this means the Newcastle game's massive. Rumours that Alan Saint-Maximin is back for Newcastle, which is obviously a big boost for them. But, playing away from home is a big boost for Leeds. Hopefully, we'll have all our players, obviously, within reason, fit for that game. We can move Luke Ayling to right back. I've said I like him at centre back. That goal yesterday was poor from him. It was really poor, just completely switched off. But, the midfield as well, just how easy it was for Ben White to move that ball through the midfield. And obviously, a lot of people are blaming Luke Ayling for the goal. And he is at fault. He's left Neil Maupay completely. But overall, I think we've got to pick up a win against Newcastle for confidence. And I think confidence is massive in this division. We all talk about the Championship. And, when we go through a little bit of lulls, obviously we lost to Nottingham Forest. And then we made that brilliant comeback against Brentford. And then we went on that unbelievable run. The Premier League's not like that. The Premier League's not like that. You're not going to be going with this squad now. Leeds United are not going to win 3 or 4 games on the bounce. Might win 2 games on the bounce, but we ain't going to win 3 or 4 games on the bounce. There's too much quality in this division. There's too many quality teams around the corner. Newcastle, for me, are not a quality team. We have to be beating them. We have to be beating Newcastle. We talk about squad depth earlier on. I don't think Newcastle have that squad depth, to be quite honest with you. They're obviously ravaged with injuries at this moment in time. They've been hit by COVID. This is a big opportunity for Leeds United. We need to get another 3 points on the board and stop the rot, because we do not want this rot setting in and for Leeds United to be going, you look at the games after this, we've got a lot of tough fixtures coming up. We have. Newcastle is a game that Leeds United have to be winning. It's a game we have to be winning in this division. I thought Brighton yesterday, I'd have been happy with the draw. A lot of people were calling me negative for saying I'd be happy with the draw. I would have been. I still think they're a good side, very good side in this division. Just think that the results haven't gone their way this year. And it's turned, and it'll probably turn for them now going forward. But Leeds, we have to stop the rot. Conceding 3 against Crawley, you all might turn round and say it was the FA Cup. It doesn't mean anything. Granted, you're right, but it's still a big, big loss. That 3 goals shipped against a tier 4 team. A mentality thing. We know with this squad that the mentality has been an issue, even in the Championship. But positively, I think we'll get the win against Newcastle. I genuinely do believe that. I do. I think we'll get the result against Newcastle, and I think we'll be back on track. And I think ultimately we'll be fine this season. I just think this versatility, and you see it with no other Premier League side, and you see no other Premier League side playing like Leeds United, which is the beauty and why everybody loves watching Leeds. But I worry just sometimes about the players' fatigue. I worry about the players in certain positions. And that's it, guys, to be quite honest with you. I just want to see more players in their positions. I want to see Luke Ayling in his position. I want to see Pascal Stroy in his position. I want to see, Rafinha in his position. I want to see these players in their position so we can get the optimum level of these players. But we'll have to wait and see what's Conky Dong, what a name. Connor, who do you think will be the right player to improve our midfield? Pulga, yes. I think Pulga, I'd have Pulga over Rodrigo de Paul, believe it or not. I just think Pulga's ideal for what we need now in terms of a defensive capacity. De Paul scored again yesterday. Someone's just said, yeah, I've just seen that. Got to look at progressive improvement, says Oliver. Let's have a look. Needs to do Newcastle, or we should be worrying. I do agree with that. I think if we lose to Newcastle, there'll be a worry setting. There will be a worry setting with our fans, and you know what the thing is with a lot of us, it's buzzing after a win, but then Bielsa needs to be sacked after we lose. There needs to be a medium. We'll do okay in this game. We might win this game by a little bit of a margin. Just somewhere in the middle. Okay, we're not going Champions League or Bielsa sacked. That's what it is with our fans at this moment in time. You know what I mean? So I just think sometimes there needs to be just realistic measurements. We have too many players who are championship quality, and that's nail on the head. We've got a lot of championship quality players, and that's just how it is at this moment in time, and that's why investment needs to happen. Guys, I'm going to leave it at there. There's a lot of you who've joined, 420 of you. If you do me a solid and just like the video, there's going to be another video out tomorrow. So come back to us if you are new. As I said, please slap a like on the video. It just, because I do edited videos and I do live streams. I think you guys enjoy the live streams. I don't know. But there seems to be a lot more traction on the videos when I do the lives. So please let me know if you've enjoyed it with a comment in the section below. If you have just joined right now, you'll be able to go and play back and watch the whole thing again if you want. We go through many talking points, and I really appreciate you sticking around. We're going to have a little bit more of an analytical video out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that one, guys. Have a good Sunday. Don't let it ruin your weekend so much, and I'll see you in a bit.